What's up, tribe? Hey, 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 you guys. Come on in, come on in, come on in. We are going to talk about Capote and the Swans today. Okay? Now, we're going to get into the things. Hey, Lemon Kush, Sylvia, Citizen Jane. Been ready for this because you read the book too. Marnie, Amber, Quake. Hey, Lovely 31. Hey, you guys, come on in. Anybody that's coming in late, y'all say hi. Hit the like button. Come on down front. We are live on both channels. So y'all come on in and take a seat. Now, I'm sorry, y'all. Okay. So, first of all, I think a lot of people, it's the real Tashi. Hey, the real Tashi. Yes, we're gonna talk about it over here, honey. And first, we've got to start with who these people are. We got to start with what's going on and who these people are, because again, like I told you guys before, baby, this is some real WASP type stuff that we have going on here. So first of all, let's talk about who these people are. So Truman Capote is a writer, right? Truman Capote, this is a picture of him. This is in his younger days, right? In his younger days, this is Truman Capote. Now, Truman Capote was a very infamous, maybe more than famous, writer of the 1930s, 1940s into like the 1960s. I think he died. I'm not sure his exact date. Hold on. I have an article I'm going to read to you. We're going to go over, and then we're going to get into it. But the thing about Truman was that Truman was very flamboyant. He was openly gay at a time when being openly gay was not always, clearly was not a popular thing, and it wasn't always celebrated. But he was who he was. He died in 1982. Oh, wow. Okay. But he absolutely was who he was, right? Truman created a world where he did not come from high society, but he found a way to infuse himself into high society. He found a way to make himself be oh yeah, he would have Marty said Capote would have had a YouTube channel today and he'd have been messy as fuck. He would have been. Oh my gosh. But he found a way to infuse himself into high society and almost made himself be for lack of a better word, a mascot to them. He had to be, if there was a dinner party, you had to have Truman. If there was a society event, you had to invite Truman. Like, that is who Truman Capote became. But he also was a writer. Some of his books became very popular movies and things of that nature. So what the show Capote versus the Swans is about, it's a feud between Truman Capote and this group of high society women that he infused himself around, right? So I'm going to read you guys an article. Oh, he was a great, great storyteller. You watched Capote on Tubi last night about his book he wrote. It was fire. Yeah. I saw it a long time ago. I'm probably going to watch it again because I saw it a long time ago. Child, what did I just do? Oh, my camera's not on for some reason. Why is my camera not connected? Oh, shoot, y'all. Give me a second. My camera's not. Because I was like, why is it a blank screen? But for some reason, my camera is not. Give me a second. Let me get my camera working. But I'll just keep talking while I get my camera together. So it's not. Why is it not plugged in? Let me figure out what's going on. All right, we'll keep talking. I mean, push come to shove, I just have to use the camera on the computer, which I just don't like that because it's not a good camera. Let me see if that helps. I had something plugged in. Let me see if that helps. Nope, that did not help. Okay. Why is it not connected to this camera? Let me unplug it. I'm scared to unplug it. I wonder if I've been plugging and unplugging stuff all day because they've been trying to get my computer situation straight. I mean, my DirecTV situation straight. Okay, we're going to keep going. Can y'all hear me? We're going to keep going while I try to get this whole thing figured out, child. Okay. I think he was nominated for an Oscar. Capote was I don't know for what categories, but I remember Capote being nominated for multiple Oscars. I don't know if it won anything, and I don't know what category, but I do know it was nominated. All right, you guys, I'm trying to figure out what's going on with my camera, but we're still talking. And like I said, if I can't figure it out, then we will just. Okay. Where is it plugged in? Give me a second, y'all. Oh, here it is right here. Hold on. Let me unplug it and plug it back in. Let me see if that's what it is. Okay. Okay. Yeah, breakfast at Tiffany's. Yep. It's still not working. I don't know what's going on with the camera, y'all. Give me a second. Let me go out and come back in. Give me a second. I'm going to go out and I'm going to come back in. Find out. Let me see something. Okay, y'all. I don't know what the problem is. Whatever it is, it's the problem with StreamYard. It's not because when I went out, I opened up the camera on my computer and it's connecting to my webcam. So whatever the problem is, it's with StreamYard. And so I don't know why it's not connecting. I went into settings and it's not showing up. It's not showing up on set. Wait a minute, there it is. Yes, it is. Now it's showing up on settings. Okay. Now it's showing up. Anyway, I'm sorry about that technical difficulty sometimes. Okay, so the story with the Swans, it deals with Capote and basically he betrayed them. Now I don't want to go too far ahead of what they've already shown us, but what I am going to do is we're going to read through. It was a Vanity Fair article that talked about who the Swans were, and it gives you a background on the Swans that they showed. That the main Swans that they talk about in the movie. And to be honest with you, Ryan Murphy got the who's who of Hollywood, of like I don't want to say old Hollywood because it's not old Hollywood, but it's old Hollywood for our generation, old Hollywood, if that makes sense what I'm saying. Like you have the Demi Moores and the Callista Flockharts and the Molly Ringwalds, and I'm like, I thought all these women were retired. But that is who he was able to pull. So let's pull this article. We're going to read through this article and then we're going to talk about episode 1 and 2. For those who don't know where to find, you can find it on FX or it is streaming on Hulu. want to find it on Hulu. If you want to find it, it's on Hulu. All right. Okay, StreamYard is really acting stupid. Okay. All right, let's read through this Vanity Fair article. I think a lot of them did Callista Flockhart, even Molly Ringwald. I feel like, okay, for those of y'all who know who Molly Ringwald is, if you look at Molly Ringwald on the show, does it look like Molly Ringwald did the opposite of what so many white women are doing today? Does it look like she sucked some of the fat out of her lips? And y'all remember Molly Ringwald from the 80s, right? She had them lips, and there's nothing wrong with the lips. I thought her lips were, they were fine, but Molly Ringwald had some lips. Did y'all see? It looked like she got lip. It looked like she had lip stuff taken out of her lips, so they wouldn't be as big. But that's just me. Let's read through this article, honey. Let's read through this article. And this is coming from Vanity Fair. I know. Let me put it big on the screen so y'all can see the pictures and y'all can see the side by sides of who these women are. Is that what it is? You lose volume as your lips. Okay. Okay, there we go. All right. All right. So these are women. So this is Babe on the left. That's Babe from the TV show, and that's the real Babe in real life. That's who she was in real life. On the left, that is CB. I think that's who that was. That's in the show, and that's her in real life. And this is Slim. That's a Slim on the show, and that's Slim in real life. So let's talk about who these women were, honey. Who were the Swans? A deep dive into Truman Capote's best friends. Much has been spilled over the rise and fall of Truman Capote, the brilliant and troubled author of groundbreaking books, books like Breakfast at Tiffany's and In Cold Blood has been the subject of multiple biopics, including Capote, which won Philip Seymour Hoffman a Best Oscar in 2006. So he did win the Oscar for it. Almost 20 years later, Capote returns to the zeitgeist as the bleeding and bloated heart of the center of Ryan Murphy's anthology series, Feud, Capote versus the Swans. This time, as portrayed by British actor Tom Hollander, Capote is at war with Manhattan's elite, the it girls of the generation, after infiltrating their tightly guarded inner circle, then exposing their secrets in a salacious magazine story titled La Côte Basque, which is a restaurant where they used to always go to eat. And that was in 1965. The piece was named after the chic restaurant the ladies would lunch in and was published in Esquire in November of 1975. Okay. The article was intended to serve as an excerpt from a much larger work, Capote's final novel, Answered Prayers, a roman eclipse about the wily ways of New York's upper echelon. The book was inspired by Capote's close friends, including Lee Radziwill, ZZ Gist, Slim Keith, and Babe Pauley, all of whom he immortalized in print under thinly veiled aliases. But after Capote revealed their secrets, the women cut him out of their lives, hastening his descent into alcoholism and despair. So Babe Pauley, who was played by Naomi Watts, and that is, again, on the left is the picture of the real Babe, and on the right is Babe from the movie or the TV show. The most dazzling swan of all was Babe Pauley, and perhaps Capote's one true love, born Barbara Cushing in Boston, July 5th, 1915. Oh, she was a Cancer like me. Babe was the daughter of Harvey Cushing, a pioneering neurosurgeon and Harvard professor, which afforded her all of the creature comforts of a WASP blue blood life. Her older sister Mary and Betsy went on to marry an Astor and a Roosevelt. respectively. The trio were known in high society as the fabulous Cushing sisters. That's not to say Babe's life was without hardship. Around the time of her debutante ball, Babe was in a devastating car accident in Long Island that required her to undergo extensive cosmetic and dental surgery on her mouth and jaw. Many would argue that post-surgery, Babe was even more beautiful than she had been before the accident. Babe would take her gorgeous new face to New York City, where she'd land a job at Vogue as a fashion editor. So I'm gonna show y'all this picture. Babe, after the surgery, all of her teeth were fake. She had dentures at like 22 or something like that. As a result of the car accident, she and they kind of show it in the movie. And in the first episode, we saw it. Well, the second episode, we saw a glimpse of it, of her putting her teeth in. But yeah. She landed a job at Vogue as a fashion editor, married oil heir Stanley Grafton Mortimer Jr., and become a mainstay of the best dressed list in 1941. Time names her the second best dressed woman in the world, only second to Wallis Simpson. Babe had 2 children with Mortimer, Stanley and Amanda, before getting divorced and falling for chairman of CBS, William Bill Pauly. With him, she'd have 2 more children, William and Kate. William and Kate. The family of 6 resided on 5th Avenue in New York City and built a summer home on Kaluna North on Squim Lake in New Hampshire. Partially because Bill, who was Jewish, was not allowed into Long Island's country clubs, there were major players in New York society all the same. In the book, they explain how big of a deal that was for her to marry a Jewish man, how that threatened her place in society. Hey, what's up, Leslie? How that threatened her place in society by her marrying a Jewish man. While their life may have seemed idyllic, Bill and Babe's marriage was far from perfect. Well, before his marriage to Babe, he was notorious for being a cheater. The extramarital shenanigans continued during his marriage to Babe, with Pauly cheating on her with Happy Rockefeller, the wife of New York governor and the 41st vice president of the United States, Nelson Rockefeller. Pauly's affair with Rockefeller was so salacious that it served as the central event of the article. The Esquire story included all the sort of details of Pauly renaming them Cleo and Sidney Dillon. Its publication created a rift between Babe and Capote that would never mend. 3 years later, she died of her battle with cancer. Capote was not invited to the memorial service. Even after her death, Babe and her legacy live on. Fun fact, former Real Housewife of New York City and tabloid mainstay Tinsley Mortimer married into the family of Babe's first husband. Babe was the tall, slim, elegant society Dionne, widely considered to be the most beautiful and chic woman in New York. Capote may have put it even better. Miss P only had one fault. She was perfect. They talked about how she set fashion trends, how like there really was no such thing as a best dress list until Babe. And they gave an example in the book about how one day Babe was out and she had her scarf and she didn't have anywhere to put her scarf, and so she decided to tie her scarf on her purse, on the handle of her purse, which of course became a trend that to this day we still do. Brands like Gucci and Hermes have made it a whole thing with their purses and the scarves wrapped around the handle. Like Babe did that, really just by accident. Okay. It's French for noble lady. Thank you, Xavier. Okay. Slim, who was played by Diane Lane. Slim was down home, child. Slim didn't play no games. Slim, born Mary Ray Gross in Salinas, California in 1916. Her mother changed her name to Nancy when she was a child. Keith would opt to change it again, going by the nickname Slim when she fled the coop. From a well-off family, yet considerably outside of the blue blood bubble, Keith had to hustle to make it to high society. She dropped out of school at 16 After meeting William Randolph Hearst and his mistress, actress Marion Davies, found herself enmeshed in the world of entertainment. She became a Hollywood socialite, frequently partying with the likes of Clark Gable and Cary Grant. By 22, she was on the cover of Harper's Bazaar, and like her pal Babe, became a mainstay of the best dressed list. Keith was married not once, not twice, but 3 times. Her first marriage in 1941 was to Howard Hawks, director of classic films such as His Girl Friday and Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. They divorced in 1949, but not before Keith effectively discovered legendary actress Lauren Bacall by showing Hawks a magazine with Bacall's photo on it, leading him to sign her to a 7-picture deal. After an alleged fling with Ernest Hemingway, Keith would then meet and marry her second husband, Leland Hayward, a movie and theater producer responsible for bringing Rodgers and Hammerstein's Sound of Music and South Pacific to Broadway. 10 years into their marriage, Hayward left Slim for political activist and socialite Pamela Churchill. It says, yes, I made a life for myself. I even married. Keith wrote in her memoir, when I lost Leland, I lost the best part of my life. But Keith wouldn't be down or out for long. She soon snatched up British banker Kenneth Keith, who also happened to be Baron Keith of Castle Acre. Thus, Lady Slim Keith of Castle Acre was born. Baby, that Miss Pam, the one that stole her husband from her, oh, baby, she had a whole thing. They don't really talk. So far, we haven't really talked a lot about her, but baby, In Capote's book, Keith's avatar was Lady Ina Coolbrith, whom Capote described as a much married and divorced society matron. In real life, he affectionately referred to Keith as Big Mama, but that well of love ran dry after he published the article. Keith never spoke to Capote again, and by some accounts was considered the chief organizer in keeping the Swans at war with Capote until the end. As for Keith, she died of lung cancer in 1990 at the age of 73. CZ Guest, Chloe Sauvignon. And again, that's the real CZ on the left, and that's on the right. That's the movie. The bluest of the bloods, CZ Guest was born Lucy Douglas Cochrane, whatever, in 1920. The daughter of a prominent investment banker, Guest had an incredibly waspy upbringing in Boston, a la her friend Babe. She went by the nickname CZ because her brother used to call her Sissy instead of sister. But fitting her privileged upbringing, CZ had appropriate hobbies, including horseback riding, gardening, and fox hunting. Like her friends Babe and Slim, CZ was named to the International Best Dressed List Hall of Fame. However, CZ had a bit of a wilder side than of her clean-cut appearance would suggest. She appeared as a stage actress in the Ziegfeld Follies in 1944. She was also painted by Diego Rivera, Salvador Dali, and Andy Warhol. By 1947, CZ married Winston Frederick Churchill, Guest, a British-American polo champion, and as his name indicates, a relative of Winston Churchill. Ernest Hemingway was the best man at their wedding. The couple had 2 children, Alexander and Cornelia Guest, and quite shockingly for the Swans, they stayed married until his death in 1982. Guest would go on to have a popular gardening column in the New York Post before her death in 2003. She was the only Swan to forgive Truman after the article. It seems that Guest really was the stand by your man type. Lee Radziwill, played by Callista Flockhart. Again, that's her in real life on the left. And on the right is the movie. Arguably the most famous of the Swans, Radziwill was best known for being the younger sister of Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, fashion icon and first lady to JFK. While she could have spent her entire life in her sister's shadow, and perhaps she felt that she did, she was also a society figure in her own right. A New York City native, Radziwill, born Caroline Lee Bouvier in 1933, became a literal princess, marrying Polish royal prince Stanislaw Radziwill in 1959. They had 2 children, Anthony and Christina, before they divorced in 1974. And yes, there's another Real Housewife of New York connection. Raswell's son was married to former cast member Kel Raswell. In 1988, she married Oscar and Tony nominated director and choreographer Herbert Ross. They divorced in 2001. Even before the article, Raswell had a rocky relationship with her friend Truman Capote. He promised to make her a star, helping her get cast in the television play Laura, based on the 1944 movie of the same name. Unfortunately, she didn't have the goods as an actress and was critically panned for her performance. In Capote's script, she never acted again, yet Raswell made it out of the article relatively unscathed, especially in Slim. Still, Raswell seemingly added with Bade and Slim to the schism. She declined to testify on behalf of Capote in his lawsuit with Gore Vidal, who sued Capote for $1 million after the In Cold Blood author claimed that Vidal had been thrown out of the White House for being drunk at a party honoring Stash Raswell, per gossip columnist Liz Smith. Raswell told Capote the story, but refused to testify on his behalf, saying, "Oh, Liz, what do we care? They're just a couple of FAGs. They're disgusting." Vidal won the suit, and Raswell died in 2019. And then we have Ann Woodward, played by Demi Moore. The most tragic swan was Ann Woodward, as a radio actress and showgirl who made it out of the Midwest to become a New York socialite, born Ann Crawwell in Pittsburgh, Kansas, in 1915. Woodward moved to New York in 1937 and was named the most beautiful girl in radio. She'd go on to meet and marry William Woodward Jr., the heir to the Hanford National Bank fortune and the Bel Air estate, and together they'd have two children, William III and James. In 1955, after rumors of a prowler in their neighborhood at Oyster Bay, Ann Woodward shot and killed her husband, William, claiming she thought he was a burglar. The Nassau County grand jury determined that William's death was an accident and Woodward was exonerated, but the Upper East Side was less forgiving than the judicial system, and Woodward was cast to the outskirts of high society. Capote dramatized Woodward's story in the article in 1965, basing the character of the murderess Ann Hopkins on Ann Woodward and insinuating that the accidental shooting was in fact murder, claiming that William Woodward had wanted a divorce due to various infidelities. Woodward may have been informed of her less than flattering portrayal in Capote's Roman A. Clef before the chapter was published. She committed suicide shortly before the issue hit newsstands. After her death, Woodward's former mother-in-law expressed little grief. "She shot my son, and Truman just murdered her. So now I suppose we don't have to worry about that anymore." Tragically, both of Woodward's sons would go on to unalive themselves as well. And then we have Joanne Carson, played by Molly Ringwald. Now, right there, those look like her lips. But on the episode, they just look smaller. But anyway. Decidedly not a swan, Joanne Carson was the wife of Tonight Show host Johnny Carson and Capote's best and only remaining friend after the article. She was Carson's second of four wives and was married to the television host from 1963 to 1972. Capote would eventually die in her California home in August of 1984 of liver disease complicated by, phlebitis and multiple drug intoxication, but not from a drug overdose. He was 59. Carson kept half of Capote's ashes and in 2016 held an auction called The Private World of Truman Capote, where she sold 337 items belonging to the author, including what was alleged his last story he ever wrote the day before he died. She was interred next to some of Capote's ashes at Westwood Cemetery when she died in 2015. And then I'll give you guys the link if you guys want to read some actual articles or more information. But the book, the book that the show is based off of, the book that the show is based off of, is really good. They all look good. Let me tell you something. They may not look, they look different, but they look good. Okay. Demi Moore, Molly Ringwald, Callista Flockhart. Because let me tell y'all something. I saw Callista Flockhart a few years ago, and I said, ooh, she was not aging well at all. So, baby, whatever makeup artist they have, whatever surgeons, wherever you go, Callista look good. Okay. So I can see Ryan Murphy and Andy Cohen sitting around at dinners dishing about the women of the Real Housewives franchise. I can see it too, Marnie. I can definitely see it. So those are the Swans. So those are the people that Truman Capote surrounded himself with. And like I said, in the book, they mentioned a few other women that he was probably cool with, but they were not a part of the inner circle. Now, let's switch gears and let's go to the actual show. Calissa just needs some weight. Yeah. Now y'all know that my DVR situation is screwed up, so we just gonna talk a little bit. So episodes 1 and 2 dropped on Wednesday. So if you haven't watched them yet, like I said, you can catch them on Hulu or FX. So we start this episode off. We start episode 1 off where we are sort of starting at the beginning of Capote and Babe's. Well, no, we're starting when Babe finds out that she already knew her husband was cheating on her, but you know, y'all know how these people are, right? We talked about it when we talked about Melody and Martell. We talked about it so many times before about cheating with, respectable cheating, right? Babe knew her husband was cheating on her, but it's about respectable cheating. So Babe was over in was over in Paris for New York Fashion Week, okay? She was over in Paris for New York Fashion Week. Paris Fashion Week, child. Because again, remember, she was the who's who. Like, everybody wanted her at their shows. She said she took the Concorde to get home, and she got home a day early. Well, unbeknownst to her husband, she got home a day early. And her husband, who at the time was closing out this affair he was having with the governor's wife, right? She said, well, can we just do one more time for the road? Can we just get one more time in for the road? So he says, okay, you can come on over. So this is where he was wrong. This is where he was wrong, first of all. Why you letting her come over to your house, in your house, okay? So she slid on over there, and they had a good old romp. And when he got up, now if you got a weak stomach, just go on and hold on for a second. He looked up and he had blood on his hand. And he said, what the hell? And she said, oh, you thought you was going to get away scot-free? You thought you was going to break things off with me and you was going to get away scot-free? And baby, she was on her menstrual. Hey, Pat. And when he looked up, it was blood everywhere. And she told him, now you clean that up before your wife get home, because they had all white everything. Now, I'm sure that story was exaggerated for the purpose of the feud, for the show. But y'all know, as women, y'all know that it happens sometimes, right? And you may or may not know, depending on what there might not have been a whole lot of foreplay involved. He might have just laid her down and, got busy. But neither here nor there, she came home and saw the evidence. Because again, instead of him having 24 hours like he thought he had, he literally only had like 2 hours. And on the show, he was literally still trying to clean the blood out of the carpet when she walked up in the house. So Babe calls over Capote, right? And we see Capote come in, flamboyant, he gives the nanny money and says, take the kids to the movie and to lunch. And he tells the housekeeper, send us up, blah, 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 blah. It's almost like the way he does it, that this is the drill, right? This is right. This is the drill, right? He goes in, and of course, Babe is upset. And she tells him what happened, and she's like, that's it. That's it. That's it. I'm leaving him. I'm divorcing him. He has disrespected me for the last time. He's embarrassed me for the last time. Baby, Capote hit her with the, no, you're not. Capote hit her with the, where you going? You ain't going nowhere. He said, what you gonna do is you gonna make him pay for it. Didn't you say you wanted blah, 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 blah? And, you're just going to make him pay for what he did. But you ain't going nowhere. Like, you ain't ready to give all this up. You're not ready to start over. Like, he really talked her out of leaving her husband. And she was like, you're right. I love you so much. Like, you really saw. I don't even know if almost a codependency. Because it was really, really weird how she deferred to him. You know what I mean? I disagree 100%, Xavier. No, I disagree 100%. First of all, I disagree with him telling her to not leave her husband. And I don't agree with that Cardi B needs a Capote to tell her that. I don't agree. I disagree 100%. Okay. So, many of fine art collection were born in infidelity. Well, in episode 2, not to jump too far ahead, but in episode 2, Babe is already diagnosed with cancer. And she starts giving away her jewelry. And baby, her jewelry, she said, that's the first time Bill cheated. He bought me this. That's the second time Bill cheated. He bought me this. And it was some beautiful jewelry. You know what I mean? Like exquisite pieces, baby. It was one that would have rubies in it. Y'all know ruby is my signature because that's my birthstone. Baby, I love rubies. Okay. I looked at that thing. I said, ooh, doggy. She couldn't trust everyone with her real business hell. She couldn't trust Capote. So then we sort of flash back to like 1945, I think we flash back to, where we see him first meeting Babe. So he first met Babe. They were all going down to Jamaica.
Good evening.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, I'm back, sister. I've been over here one time.
How you doing?
Okay.
No problem. I almost seemed like Babe had a crush on Truman when she invited him back into the bed. I was like, what? I don't know what Cardi B and Offset doing, child, and I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. So anyway, so get back to this. So we see where they're on their way to Jamaica. Babe and her husband had an estate in Jamaica where they would go vacation, go down for the weekend, whatever. They had a private plane. Remember, I told you guys this is they got private planes and they got this and they got that. So we saw the private plane flying down. And one of the guys that was going with them, the other couple that was going with them was like, can Truman come? And of course, her husband was like, of course he can come. Yeah, that's great. He thought it was Harry Truman. So when Truman shows up with his gay self, he was very, hey, because Truman Capote also had this really high-pitched voice, right? I think Baba's need companionship from a male desperately as she clung to Truman. Oh, babe, yeah. So she so he showed up, and of course her husband was like embarrassed or whatever, and they were like, you thought it was Truman Capote? I mean, you thought it was Harry Truman? Like, why would you think I was inviting the ex-president? Like, what would you think that was? So they go down to Jamaica, and Truman tells the story of Ann Woodward, the one we just heard about, where allegedly, she shot her husband, but allegedly, he told that story about it not being true, and she really was trying to off her husband because he wanted to divorce her. Like, he told that story, and of course he had the whole table like hanging on for every word. Like, he was a great storyteller. So after dinner, he witnessed Babe's husband cheating on her with one of the women that was there at the dinner table. And that is really how him and Babe bonded in the show. They bonded over her husband's infidelity, and they became friends. So that they showed us how him and Babe, sort of connected or whatever. So fast forward back to like 1965, real time. We see that Truman is struggling. He's trying to write this book. He's got a deadline. They done already paid him in advance, and they want their money back or they want their book. And so we see him. He already is struggling with an alcohol problem. He's already struggling with trying to get this book written. And his boyfriend, the guy that he had been with for years and years and years, they were kind of going through some stuff. Bill had no discretion at the dinner table. Child, he had no discretion because he sat there and slept with that woman right there at their house. Like, he did introduce her to smoking cigarettes. Did he introduce her to smoking cigarettes? Mm-mm. She downstairs. I think so, yeah. That's what I just said, Jane. I said his boyfriend. Oh, you just saying the name, Jack. Okay. Okay. So then we get a little bit of background on we don't get, again, the book gives way more detail. Well, we learn a little bit about Slim. We meet Slim, and I've already read y'all the article, so we read Slim. We meet CZ. Those are the three main swans that we meet in episode 1. So yeah, smoking was definitely a large part of the culture. Yeah, absolutely. So everybody smoked. I mean, they were smoking on the plane, they were smoking at the restaurants. And we saw where Capote would meet up with these women for lunch at this restaurant that, became big in that became a big deal in the book. I mean, yeah, in the article. So we saw that he would meet up with them, and they basically would exchange gossip. That's what they did. They would exchange gossip, in with their little weekly romps or whatever. Yeah, this is based on a true story. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is based on a true story. And also remember that a lot of this was post-war. Like, a lot of this stuff started post-war. Now, in the book, and I'm sure he's going to get into it later on in the because this is a series. But because in part 2 they start getting a little bit into Capote's history and his relationship with his mother or whatever. Because his mother was an alcoholic, and we see in the book where his mother. I mean, we see in the show where he has these hallucinations of his mother, and his mother is like, "Yeah, you did that for me. You did that for me. You did that for me." Yeah, check it out. You watched it by mistake. Did you like it? Did you like it? So anyway, Capote he's hit a writing block. He doesn't have any money. He definitely doesn't have the money to pay back to the people who gave him the advance, and he's really struggling to figure it out. So we see him meeting up. We see him go into the bathhouses, right? The bathhouses where a lot of times the gay men would go to meet up with other gay men. Again, this was still the 1950s, 1960s. Well, this point was 1960s, but still wasn't like an openly gay situation. So, and he met a guy there. What's his name, Jane? Because I don't have his name in front of me. But he met a guy there who did not identify as gay. And Truman knew who he was. Like, Truman said from the beginning, oh, you're basically a hustler. Like you're just here trying to hustle up. Like you don't really care where it comes from. You don't care if it comes from left or right. You just trying to get it in. And we find out that O'Shea was his last name, but we find out that he was married with kids. But him and Truman end up in this like weird relationship where Truman then lets him be his manager and starts Jack or John. Yeah, I think it was Jack. Maybe it was Jack, but it was Jack or John. You're right. He ends up putting him as his manager. And so we see where the name of the book, hold on, because I have it on mine. And it's available on Audible. The name of the book is the name of the book is called Capote's Women. The book that this series is directly adapted from is called Capote's Women, and it's written by why it won't come up? Why the thing won't come up? Hold on. Lawrence Leamer. It's called Capote's Women, and it's written by Lawrence Leamer. It was John. Okay, John. Thank you, John. Jack was the long-term boyfriend. John was the little hustler. So we see towards the end of the first episode, we see Capote meet up with him at the bathhouse. And next thing you know, Capote is introducing him as his manager. And he takes John with him to his probably weekly meeting at the restaurant with the ladies, with the Swans. And they tell Capote point blank, they were like, listen, I mean, if you want to frolic around in the hay with him, that's great. Like, he's a nice looking guy. However, that is not who you put in charge of your affairs. Like, the Swans saw this guy for who he was. The Swans saw him for who he was, right? And so, as they were leaving the appointment, as they were leaving lunch, interloper, absolutely. As they were leaving lunch, those were their real names, Xavier. That's what I'm saying. This is based on a true story. These are the real names. These are these people's real names. So, yeah. These are these people's real names. So, anyway. So, after they leave lunch, now, while they were at lunch, they had a run-in with Ann Woodward, the one that Capote said actually, unalived her husband. They had a run-in with her at lunch. She was like, you've been spreading these rumors about me. And, like they had a whole scene at lunch. So when they were leaving and they were in the cab, you could tell that John was a little irritated because I'm sure Capote was making them promises that weren't happening. He said that Babe agreed to buy him a car and all this other stuff. So John was like, you said you having a writing block. You can't figure out what to write your book about. Hello? Did you not see what just happened at lunch? Like, that was that was worthy. And he was like, I can't write about them. Those are my friends. And John was like, so what? Like, they'll get it. Like, they'll understand. Their stories are worthy to be told. And that is how they explain him writing the book. Well, the article, I should say. The article. Bye.
I ain't gone yet.
Oh. Okay. So that was episode 1. Well, no. Episode 1 ended with the article being published and Babe being totally mortified and embarrassed and hurt. And you see all the Swans meeting up at lunch as they're, per usual at lunch, basically discussing Capote. And they were like, listen, that's it. He's cut off. That's going to hurt him more than anything else. Is it, what you need? She went back outside. She just left. Um, they totally wrote off, right? Now they said Babe is gonna be the weak link because she loved him the most. Like it's gonna be the hardest for Babe to do it, right? It's gonna be hardest for her to shut him down, but we gotta ice him out. We gotta ice him out. So that's where, and then we find out that Ann Woodward, getting wind that the article was going to be published, she committed suicide, which made it even worse because now everybody was blaming him and blaming that article on her taking her own life. Okay, so that's episode 1. Now episode 2 picks up. We find out that Babe has been diagnosed with cancer, and the bad thing is obviously that she was diagnosed with cancer. The good thing is it seems like it's brought her and her husband closer together. Maybe the guilt of all the years of him cheating on her and, going behind her back, and, maybe it was the guilt of his affairs embarrassing her now that all of their business is being put out there on Front Street, and he knows that basically she's getting the brunt of what happened, not him. And we find out that this is around the holidays that all this is happening, and Capote is trying to get an invitation to Thanksgiving dinner because I think in his mind he was like, okay, they'll be mad for a couple of weeks and then they'll get over it and life will go back to what it was. But that's not how it went down. And I think he always felt like he could get to Babe. I think now Babe wouldn't even get on the phone with him, and I think she knew that if she got on the phone with him, she might give in a little bit. So she wouldn't even pick up the phone. The only person that would actually talk to him, like they said in the Vanity Fair article, was CZ. CZ would she actually talked to him, and she actually invited him to Thanksgiving dinner. She invited, because they were going down to Palm Beach, I believe it was, and she actually did invite him until Slim was like, nope, no ma'am. And basically they threatened with icing her out if she became cool with Capote again. And of course, that is what these women lived off of. These women lived off of being in society. You know what I'm saying? Truman oh, yeah. So Truman actually ended up having Thanksgiving dinner with the character played by Molly Ringwald. What was her name again? Carson. Johnny Carson's ex-wife. And we see part of the reason why she wasn't a Swan is because she wasn't a blue blood in New York society. She lived in LA. She had money, but of course she had more of a bohemian lifestyle. This was the 1960s. She was more eclectic. And so she was not that, tight blue blood, thing. But she was the one that really stuck by him. She invited him to Thanksgiving, and and Capote went out to Thanksgiving dinner with John. Now, mind you, John and Capote were already having, their relationship was already physical, as far as him being physically abusive to Capote. We saw him hit Capote because Capote was coming at him about his kids and spending Thanksgiving with his family versus spending Thanksgiving with him. And the reality of the situation is Capote would do, I almost feel like Capote wanted to be hurt. I don't know, because he would say these things that he knew would trigger that man. And I'm not defending that man hitting him, because again, there's no defense to that man putting his hands on him. Let's be clear. No defense to that. But I almost feel like it was almost like he felt like he had to feel pain. You know what I'm saying? Because he was so hurt about where he was. Again, his alcoholism was becoming a problem. He didn't have any money. Now he's been ousted. Not only was he ousted by his friends, but he was ousted from society, because honestly, he didn't belong. The only reason why he was there is because he was their friends. Like, it wasn't like he was a part of blue blood socialite. Like, that wasn't his background. That wasn't his upbringing. And so he sort of by hook or crook got himself into that that lifestyle. And so now by hook or crook, now he got kicked out. So we saw when they were out in LA, that's when the first time we see him have the hallucination with his mom. And his mom almost said, his mom was talking to him and she was like, yeah, she said like mother, like son. We know that she was an alcoholic. He was drinking, he was drunk, at the dinner. And then she starts saying, yeah, so I know why you did what you did. You trying to figure out why you did it, huh? Well, you did it for me. You did it because you know that my biggest desire was to become a part of um become a part of society, and they wouldn't let me in. And so you were trying to get in with for me. You were getting your get back for me, basically. And of course he's talking back to he's talking back to his mother and was like, no, I wasn't. Like, hell nah, Oh, that was Jessica Lange playing his mama. I knew I recognized her. I just couldn't remember. Okay. So then, right, Citizen J said Truman was reckless with his mouth, but people loved it until it was about them. True. So we saw where he came back from LA. Come to find out, the boyfriend not only beat him up in LA, because we saw the boyfriend beat him up at Thanksgiving dinner. Come to find out, when he got back to New York, the boyfriend beat him up again and put him in the hospital. And so Jack, the ex-boyfriend, who still loved Truman, was calling Babe and was like, he needs you. Like, I know you're mad. I know what he did was wrong, but he really needs you. Like, he is spiraling. He's doing really bad. And Babe stuck to her guns. Babe was like, yeah, I can't. I can't. I can't. I can't be his savior. I can't do it. Now that's where the episode pretty much ended. Like I said, we see where Slim is sticking to her guns, Babe is sticking to her guns. But we definitely see where CZ is sort of bending, and he definitely has his friend out in LA. But of course, he didn't portray her. She wasn't in the damn article. Yeah. So that was episode 1 and 2, you guys. And again, it's a really I think it's going to be really good, because I can tell by the trailer that they're going to do flashbacks, and they're going to give you guys some, when I say you guys, all of us, we're going to get a lot of the background stories. But baby, let me tell you something. Some of these women, they have us believe that these blue bloods were so uptight, that these women live by the society rules, and that they did all of the things they were supposed to do. And if they didn't do it, they kept it so far behind closed doors that nobody knew. Baby, these women were scandalous. Do you hear me? All of them. When you listen to the book, or I listen to the book. When you listen to the book or you read the book and you get some of these people backgrounds and you find out how scandalous they were, baby, these women were scandalous. Okay. Slim, they didn't get into a lot about Slim's background on this episode, but Slim's father, was it Slim? I want to make sure I'm telling the right story. Yeah, it was Slim. Yeah, it was Slim. I gotta make sure it was Slim. Slim was from California, and Slim's father, um, it was Slim. Slim had a sister. She had a little brother. Unfortunately, because of an accident at the home, the little brother he got burned. His pajamas caught fire, and he burned, and he died from his burns. Well, her father blamed her mother. And when the father got ready to divorce the mother, the father showed up. She was at a convent home, a convent school. And her father showed up at the convent school, and her father was like, listen, if you, like, I got a car, a boat. What do you say? I got a car, a boat, and something else. And if you just agree to tell the judge that you want to live with me and not live with your mother, it's all yours. And She said she was tempted, but she didn't do it. And so her father never spoke to her again. And so it was basically her and her mother. And she would drive down to LA and she would just hang out. Like, mind you, she was still a teenager. And she would hang out. And that's how she got to know like the different movie producers and directors and stuff. And she started having an affair with one of them. A horse. That's what it was. Thank you, Jane. Right. A car, a boat, and a horse. He said, that's all yours if you just agreed to tell the judge that, you want to live with me and not your mother. But she didn't do it because she said her mother was the only person that visited her. She was at this convent school and she was like, her mother would come and see her every weekend. Nobody else, her father never came, her sister, like nobody ever came to see her except for her mother. And she was like, I couldn't turn my back on my mom. She was the only person that had loved me. So anyway, but baby, she was still a teenager and she started having an affair with like a 40-year-old man. He invited her to his house and she was like, I knew what was up. I knew what he was trying to do. She went and baby, they slept together like that first weekend. And then she ended up having an affair with him. And then she left him. I mean, they broke up. It wasn't no thing. And then she started having another affair with another married man. But then he left his wife to marry her. And then when that relationship started turning sour, she left him and started sleeping. It was a deep, and I was like, I really wonder how many abortions these women was having. Because I mean, these were before the days of like, they had condoms and stuff, but they didn't have a birth control pill back then. They didn't have a lot of other things. And I was like, the way these women were sleeping around. And then the chapter of the book is called The Notorious Miss C, I think, or Miss P, whatever. Pamela, baby, let me tell you about Miss Pamela. Now, Pamela started off being married to Winston Churchill's son. But the only reason why she married him is because he thought he was going to die during the war. And he wanted to have a child or some shit. I don't even know, child. But anyway, they ended up getting married. And now mind you are married to the son of the leader of the country. Okay? Winston Churchill's son. And her ass was sleeping around. I said, what? She was sleeping around right under that man's nose. And then she started, baby, she had so many damn diaphragms, I guess. I don't know. Baby, she had so many different affairs. I couldn't even keep up. I was like, damn. And she just and she was like always the bridesmaid, but never the bride. Like they said that basically she slept with all these men, but these men wouldn't marry her. Baby, she slept with counts. She slept with one of her affairs was with the guy, the heir to the Ferrari dynasty. She slept with, like I said, counts and shit. And the one guy that she slept with, he was a married man, but he had her on an allowance. He bought her an apartment that in today's money is worth $4 million. That would have been worth $4 million. That's her. Pamela Churchill Harriman. Yep, that's her. That in today's money was worth $4 million. And then he paid her $5,000 a month allowance, which in today's money is like $173,000 a month. And he did that for years. Even after they broke up, he still paid her allowance for like a couple of years. I said, bitch, I need to find him. Okay? I need to find him. Baby, oh my gosh. But baby, she was dirty because she ended up stealing Slim's husband. Come to find out, she had an affair with Slim's husband, and Slim's husband divorced her for Pam. But Slim wasn't really tripping because Slim was sleeping around with Ernest Hemingway and Cary Grant, all these other people, Child, I'm telling y'all, get the book. When you start hearing about all these names and all these different people, I mean, everybody from Hollywood to politics. Baby, I was like, what? Baby, it was a whole situation. Right, she was right. That was what it was because she was considered chubby. But I'm sure that their version of chubby was probably like our version of like a size 8, 10. But she was considered chubby. But when you start hearing about all of these different, I said Cary Grant, Clark Gable. When you start hearing about all these different affairs and all these people that was sleeping with the people that was the people and they was all married, I said, damn, did y'all couldn't find no single men? Y'all just gonna marry y'all just go sleep around with all the married men? One lady, I think it was Pam, she slept with a high-ranking Nazi. No, that wasn't Pam. That was CZ. CZ was in Germany at the beginning of World War II. Her husband was in the military. Yep, he was in the military. And baby, she was sleeping with a high-ranking Nazi soldier. But then she said, I gotta get out of Germany. This too much. She said when they was winning the war, life was good. But then when they started losing the war, baby, she was like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here. When they started losing the war, like, I gotta get out of here. Okay. Well, we are all known for our excellence, child. Yeah, you're gonna probably get some commercials. You're gonna probably get some commercials. Is it too many, Nay? Is it too many commercials for you? Because I said it. Let me know if it's too many commercials. I can adjust it. But anyway, y'all, don't forget at 6 o'clock, I'm about to go. Ooh, we're gonna be over at the Soul Firm discussing this week's episode of Raising Canaan. We are down to the wire. We're on episode 9. We only have one more episode, honey. We only got one more episode, honey. Oh shoot, I'm on the wrong side. Wait a minute. But I recommend it. Like if you're not watching, I know it's not Real Housewives, but baby, it is drama. And like I said, I think when they start going back and they start doing these flashbacks and they start showing who these women, what kind of dirt these women really had going on, baby, I think y'all gonna be like, what? And I'm gonna be like, yeah. Now, why YouTube limit the monetization? YouTube be playing games. I ain't said nothing. Maybe because I was talking about people getting unalived and stuff. I don't know, child. YouTube be playing games. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. It's like the old 80s miniseries. Yeah, that's what I was saying yesterday. It definitely gave me that feeling of like those old like TV of the week or miniseries. Remember the miniseries about the priest that had the affair? I can't remember what the name of it was, but it was a real popular book, and they made it into a miniseries in like the 80s. What was the name of that book? I never read the book, but I just remember my mom and my aunt talking about it. And then when they made it into a miniseries, baby, everybody was into it. Okay. But yeah, it was. Yeah, it was like that. It was like that. The Thornbirds. Yep, Marnie, that's what it was. Yep, Citizen Jane, the Thornbirds, baby. I remember my mama and my auntie, baby, first they read the book, and then I remember them talking about that. Baby, that was a good one right there. I might need to go back and read that book. I'm sure we'll have a whole different vibe on it today. By today's standards, it probably wasn't even that deep. But I'm gonna have to go back and read that. Yeah, I might have to go back and read that. Hey, Bev Dutton, does the Capote movie include the Swans? I'm thinking about watching it. The Capote movie, the original one. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't remember because I watched that literally when if it was nominated for an Academy Award in 2006, then that is literally when I read it. I read it in 2000. I watched it in 2006, so I don't remember because I said I need to go back and watch it again. I said I need to go back and watch it again because I honestly don't remember. Lace was a good one too. Oh, Scruples. I don't remember Scruples. I remember Lace, and I read Lace. I remember Lace, but I do not remember Scruples. It's about the making of In Cold Blood. Oh, Capote. Yeah. Yeah, it was about the making of In Cold Blood. Yeah. All right, you guys. Well, we about to head on over to talk about Raising Canaan. Like I said, it's the next to final episode. So we gotta talk about what happened in Friday night's episode and where that's gonna leave us for next week. The book was about sex education. Ooh. I might have to watch it again because I definitely didn't. Like I said, I believe when I watched it the first time, I don't think I really knew a lot about Capote or whatever. So a lot of stuff probably went over my head the first time I watched it. The book that this show is based on, it's called Capote's Women. Yeah. And the Grammys are tonight. Now I won't watch the Grammys, so if it's something to talk about, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Because by the time the Grammys go off, child. All right, you guys. The Grammy had a moonlight moment. What moonlight? I don't. What's the moonlight moment? I don't know what that is. What does that mean? The moonlight moment. They said Nikki won, but it was someone else. Oh, Moonlight when the movie. Oh, yeah. Oh, poor Nikki. Poor Nikki. Anyway, y'all, I'm out. Meet me over at TSF. If you want to go over there, then we can go. Then just stay where you are. I have it linked up. If not, I will see you guys for Real Housewives of Potomac later on. Peace.